Hi, everyone. It's Mark here. I hope there's several of you out there watching and listening. I'm going to pull up a different screen real quick just so that I can get a see what questions you all are posting. Nancy, where would I get the question? Where can you send me the link?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about, I hope first, let me say, I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday and getting ready for Thanksgiving and the holidays. And I hope that you all have brought some questions today so that we can help answer those for you. So we got a couple of things that we're going to discuss today, or three things specifically. We're going to talk about how to find more time for yourself when you're trying to conceive. We're going to talk about how to deal with family during the holidays, and how to find time for your partner when you're trying to conceive. And all of these are really important important topics to discuss, especially when we're trying to conceive, and especially during the holiday season. So and then intermixed into this, I'll answer questions, and I'll also answer your questions at the end on any topic that you have or any question you have regarding the school and so forth. So, okay, first and foremost, it asked me to get a request from you, by the way.
From me?
Yeah,
because I joined. So give a second, because I think people is trying to log in.
People are trying to log in right now?
Yeah.
You want me to wait?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll hold on 1 second.
And then I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, so Christy is on.
Okay.
I don't know if you get if you got a request. Give us a second.
I'll give it a second, no problem. We're just going to hold off just for a minute and just let everybody join. It's still telling me that you have to let me on. You will receive an invitation when the event organizer approves your request.
Okay, I have another link for them. Maybe
Always with technology, we've got some technical difficulties, so I apologize.
So now on the one that I sent you, what does it say?
Keep saying the same thing.
What is?
You will receive an invitation when the event organizer approves your request. I'm just trying to log on a different computer so that I can see all of your questions without having to turn around.
With what email address are you trying to?
My work one. Do I need to try with a different one? I can see some of you joining.
Yeah.
There's no different link that you need me to use?
I mean, that's the only one I have.
Okay. I'm there.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Okay. So
Keep going.
here we go. So I think it's really important that we prioritize ourselves when we're trying to conceive, and that you all prioritize yourselves and make yourselves the top of the priority list. Okay, it's very often, especially when we're in relationships, we've got jobs, that as we are setting our schedule for the day or for the week or for the month, that we don't often put ourselves first on that list. So my first suggestion for all of you is to make yourselves the priority on that list. So much so that just like you would make an appointment or a meeting in your calendar for a work event, for going on a date with your spouse or whatever it might be, a party, that you do the same thing for yourself. So you plan during your week that you are going to have, you're going to take, let's just say 20 to 30% of the week is going to be committed to you. Maybe more if you can do it, that's great. And you're going to block out that time. I like to call it flex time. So that flex time means that it's non-negotiable. It's time for yourself. You can do it. You can use it for whatever you want, but it's time for yourself. And I encourage you to set appointments that are not allowed to be changed. Just like you have a meeting at work or something else, that you are not allowed to change those appointments, that you are not going to change this appointment. So if that means that you're going to make time for yourself to spend time with your family, that's fine. You're going to make time for yourself to go exercise, go do yoga, meditation, go for a walk, whatever it might be, that you're going to put those in. And so whether it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, or whatever time that you put those things in, and they are not allowed to be changed. It's very often that we renegotiate with ourselves and say, well, because that's not an appointment with somebody else, I can move that and move it someplace else because somebody else wants me to go here or there or do something else during that time. And what I'm telling you is, no, that's non-negotiable. These are your times. They're for you. And it's an appointment with you, which is probably the most important appointment on the calendar, that you can do what you need to do and that you can prioritize yourself for whatever your conception needs are. If that means you are exercising, if that means you are just finding more time to manage your stress or spend time with family and friends or your partner or whatever it might be, that is non-negotiable. Okay? Now, number two, how to deal with family and friends during the holidays. So there's two options here. There's two different avenues you can take, directions you can take. The first one is going to be, there are going to be some family members that know what you've been going through and know what you've been dealing with. And there's going to be some of those family members who don't. And so I think we have to approach those a little bit differently. First and foremost, I think the holiday time of season is just a difficult time to begin with. It's a stressful time for most of us. There's a lot more commitments that come up. We have a lot more events that we have to be at. Simultaneously, our eating habits tend to go by the wayside a little bit here. We tend to indulge a little bit more and give ourselves a little bit more leniency, excuse me. And then we're expected to be around more family and friends. And so with that comes conversation, right? And so I think we have to be careful of how we approach them. And you have to decide what you're comfortable with in terms of how you want to approach it as well. So for those family members that are privy and understand what you've been going through and dealing with and your journey, then I think you can have a very real conversation with them. If there's something that you don't want to take part in, if there's something that you want to skip, if there's something that you want to avoid whatever situation or a couple or a person you want to avoid, then I think you can have a real conversation with them that that says, you know what, I think we're going to take a step back and we're not going to go to that event, and you know, we just don't want to put ourselves in that situation. I think it's really important, especially for those that you can be upfront and honest with, that you are upfront and honest with, that you let them know that you need to step away and you don't want to put yourselves in those situations, so that way you don't have to deal with more struggle and difficulty or challenges or whatever the reason is, right? And I don't feel like there needs to be a conversation in many regards. I don't think that there needs to be a justification for it either. I think we can just move on and allow ourselves to do what it is that we need to do. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would say there. And then the second one is, how do you deal with those family members that don't know, right? I think we have to be creative. One way is we don't really want to lie to anybody, but we have to be creative in terms of how we manage those situations. So again, the most important priority here is you and your partner. And if you don't want to put yourselves in a certain situation and environment, then I encourage you not to do that. And don't worry about hurting other people's feelings. You can deal with trying to correct that later. I think all too often we put others as a priority, saying that we're trying to take their feelings into account more so than our feelings or your feelings. And I encourage you that in this situation, you are the priority, and I want you to take your feelings first and foremost and make that the priority, and then decide what it is you want to do. Do you want to put yourself in that holiday environment? Do you want to skip that event? You don't have to do all of these things during the holidays with your friends or family members just because others want you to, and it's kind of expected, right? I think expectations are where we all get hung up. There are unspoken expectations of what we should or shouldn't be doing. And I think that we need to make those, instead of expectations, we need to make those real understandings and step away from those expectations that others are requiring of us, and be true to ourselves. So I'm going to stop for a moment and see if there's any questions here.
I'm not sure if they can post them there.
You should be able to just post your questions underneath.
If not, I can.
Where it says say something.
If not, I'm also checking Facebook.
Okay. You can post something on Facebook, but I encourage you, I'm just going to look on this other screen here. And I'm going to encourage you to post questions. Is there not a place to post a question?
There should be on that main page.
There should be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I posted a question. It's not showing up. Christy said.
It's not, huh? Give me 1 second.
I'm trying to find it too.
We didn't have this issue the last time we did this.
I'm going to ask you to post it on Facebook. Okay. There are a lot of do's and don'ts in this process. Can you tell us the essential ones of each?
Where do you see the question?
On Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook. I'll need some clarification on that question. What do you mean by do's and don'ts? Do's and don'ts in general during the fertility process? Or do you mean do's and don'ts during the holiday season? Is there a way for you to clarify that? Just trying to see, why can't we see questions here? Ah, I see it now. I see the do's and don'ts right here. So in this top right hand corner, Nancy, you see these little squares. Okay. You should be able to press right there. Okay, so there's lots of do's and don'ts in this process. Can you tell us the essential ones of each? Can you clarify?
She refers during the whole process.
During the fertility process. That's on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think in terms of, because that's a big question. I think the way I would answer that for you is, and feel free to try to clarify that as much as you want, and I'm happy to go into it more. But I think the way that I would answer that is in terms of do's and don'ts. First and foremost, you have to start with tons of supplements. Okay, I see this question. Many things to eat, not to eat, things to do, not to do. You have to prioritize what you think is manageable for yourself first. Thank you for the clarification. You have to prioritize what is manageable for you first, what is as least stressful for you first. And if I always prioritize like this if it comes to different incorporating new things into your life. It's got to be somewhat easy and straightforward, although I know that a lot of the things I ask you to do are not easy and straightforward. 2, I would start with diet first and foremost. It has such a profound effect overall on your overall health that I think it's really, really important for you to start with that. Secondly, I would probably go to managing stress as the priority. All those methods that we talked about, like yoga and meditation and qigong and so forth, I would go there as second, and then I'd go to supplements third. Now, supplements are really important because I think they're going to have a more immediate effect on your overall physiological process and your hormones now, whereas some of the other methods like diet takes a lot longer. So I try to balance those two things out. But you have to do things, and you have to start a little bit slower. So I like to phase things in. So if you say, for the next week or 2, I'm just going to focus on managing my stress. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to look at changing my diet. You have to keep those things up, but then you start to layer things in and prioritizing those things. And that's kind of why we also did it by week, right? So you could start with all the things in week 1 and do that for a couple of weeks, and then slowly phase in things from week 2, and so on. You're not going to be able to do everything, so you do have to prioritize what you think is most important for you based on the issues that you're dealing with. So I hope that that helps a little bit, and feel free to ask more questions about that, and I'm happy to clarify. There's another question. So my husband says there are things that are going to be more beneficial than others, and there has to be things that are essential and some things that just offer a slight benefit. Yes, he's absolutely correct, but that's going to depend on each individual person and their underlying diagnosis and condition. So it's very customized in that regard. If you ask me more specific questions about your specific condition, I'm happy to help you try to prioritize that. It's not that he's incorrect, he's absolutely correct. But it's going to vary from person to person based on things, based on their medical history and their reproductive history.
There's another question, Mark.
Give me 1 second and I'll answer it. But I do think if you go back to what I just said before in terms of, hey, how do I prioritize supplements and eating and what to do and what not to do, then I would start with diet first, then stress management factors, then supplements, or go from like each week and build on each week from there. Go ahead, what's the other question?
They feel like the recommended time for detoxing is 3 months, but they don't feel that they have time enough to do that because they are in their early 40s.
Okay, so that's a great question. When it comes to detoxification, I think the first and most important thing to mention is to say, start with 2 to 3 weeks. That's it. So if it says in online, we'll have to correct it, but if it says in the school that you need 3 months to detox, then I have to clarify that. Okay, it's 3 weeks primarily to detox. It's 3 months to change the quality of the eggs and the health of your ovaries. So those are two different things. I think it's important for you to start with the 3 weeks and just build on that. So in terms of detoxification, I would say, hey, focus on 2 to 3 weeks as your initial really targeted detoxification phase, and then build from there, adding some of the other recommendations. These recommended times for detoxing is 3 months, but I feel that I don't have enough. Okay, so I saw that one. Says there are things that are going to, okay, so here's another question. So thank you. I'm 44 and we've been going through this process for almost 9 years. I haven't been diagnosed with anything specific. I'm one of those unexplained fertility people. Okay, so with unexplained infertility, the place that I would focus and prioritize and start with would be where I said with unexplained, you need to go back to the basics. So you need to clean up diet, you need to manage stress, you need to put in exercise, and then supplementation. So it's really about the foundational things I find with unexplained infertility. Make sure that you're looking at your sleeping patterns and that they're going okay. Work on the basics of your basic life, your day, and the structure of your day. So you want to phase out as much stress as you can and try to manage that a little bit better. You want to work in better sleeping habits and make sure that you're getting quality sleep and long enough sleep. You want to make sure that you're working on your foundational nutrition so that you're getting good base nutritional nutrients into the body, and that you're eating well, that you're eating 3 quality meals, that you're focusing on your protein and your fat and your veggies, eating whole foods, staying away from the junk, the processed stuff, the packaged stuff. You really want to focus on a lot of the basics. I know it sounds somewhat simplistic, but I find that with unexplained that's really one of the best places to start. And then I would say with unexplained, as I said in my talk on unexplained, my lecture on unexplained infertility, is that there's got to be a reason why, and we need to look harder at to what that reason why is. And so one of the things I would add in terms of trying to rule out is maybe ruling out any autoimmune issues. But with unexplained, that's kind of how I would prioritize things for yourself, to see if to work in your plan moving forward. But again, it goes back to the basics. Supplements are going to be important, but they're going to be just the basic supplements that we've been discussing and mentioning. Let me see if there's another question here.
Christy was asking,
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to post our positive comments on Facebook? And I was like, I don't know what she...
That's a question?
That's a question, but I don't know what she refers with positive person. So,
Christy, can you clarify?
Like, she can post whatever and I will just read them to you. She can post...
like Facebook right now?
Like, yeah, I don't know what she meant by that.
Yeah, if you want to clarify, Christy, or just, I mean, you're welcome to post. This group is for us to post whatever we want to post. So, and whatever you want to post, and you want my feedback or comments, you want the group's feedback or comments. So feel free to post whatever you want. I always love positive comments. I tend to be a person of positivity, so feel free to post those as well. I think that's great. I'm going to give it another second to see if there's any additional questions before I go on to my last topic. Anything else on Nancy?
No.
Okay, so the last thing that I want to discuss, or the last area for today before we do some more questions, is how to find time for you and your partner when you're trying to conceive. I think this is a really, really important topic to address. We are constantly, again, reprioritizing everything else, and we're prioritizing conception, but not our relationship. And I think it needs to be the reverse. It's oftentimes that our relationship, when we're trying to conceive, becomes all about conception, and not only our conversation, but our interaction, all of our relationship time together is all around conception and not about building the relationship between us and each other. And I think it really needs to be the reverse. I think it's really important that, just like I was talking about flex time earlier, that you take this concept of flex time and make it a permanent thing for your relationship. That you're always having a date night that's just the two of you and not mixed in with all your friends, because it's very easy to get lost with your friends' conversations and not focus on each other. So I think once a week there has to be time for the two of you. And date night doesn't have to mean going out someplace. It could be just staying home, but it's time for no TV. It's time for you two to sit down, have a conversation, just spend time with one another and have a relationship and talk about life, goals, and be there, other than just trying to have a conversation about, when is it time to have sex? Is it not time to have sex? And what are we going to do next? And what's our next step with fertility, right? It's very common because it's such an important topic and area, that it's very common for us to get caught up in the communication always about conception and fertility. And I think it really needs to be focused back on each other. Focus on why it is that you two fell in love to begin with, and what it is you two love doing with each other, or where do you want to go next on a trip? What's important to the two of you, right? And I think that really needs to be a primary focus of what you're discussing. It's very, very easy for that to get lost. And I've unfortunately seen too many relationships get broken up because of this whole fertility thing. And I want to, and I don't think that's healthy for anybody. And I really want to solidify your relationship, because if your relationship is solid, then you guys together can succeed through anything and get through anything. So make sure that in your week, you take 2 to 3 times during the week that you guys are going to commit to each other. It could be a Saturday night for going out and just having fun, right? And maybe go dancing or whatever it might be. And it could be another time during the week where it's just time to sit home and be quiet and spend time. But it's got to be committed time. Again, this is an appointment you're not allowed to break if someone asks you for anything, unless it's an utter emergency. Like, these are commitments that are not allowed to be broken. And you don't have to decide up front what that time's going to be. You just need to know that it's blocked out for the two of you. And then when the time comes, maybe you're just going to be carefree and just say, hey, let's just go for a walk. Or you can plan something in advance, either way. But I encourage you to fit that in as well and make that a priority for yourself as well. What's up?
I have a couple of things for you.
Okay.
One was a really nice comment from Christy, saying that she just wanted to say that since starting this process, she's been sleeping better than ever, and I've been eating clean and taking some supplements in September. I used to have the worst insomnia, and I've been sleeping great for the past month. Awesome.
Good for you, Christy.
You can read it to the girls in case they can't hear me. It's on the comment area. And then another one is from Sharon. She's asking, my husband's comment. You mentioned stress and dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that stress has more to do with how you react than what happens. Please clarify.
Absolutely. Well, stress is always about the reaction in the body, right? And stress comes in many different forms. So stress comes in the emotional stress, which is what we commonly think about. And stress comes in the form of dietary stress. We're eating the wrong thing, so it's causing havoc and stress on the body and the digestive system. And depending on the form that we deal with stress, or the form that stress comes in, depends on how we need to manage that. But above all, it's all about our mindset with it. So for instance, like I had a social event last night, and prior to that I was working, and I had to go out and I didn't have time to eat dinner. And so when I got to where I was going, I needed to eat dinner. Was it the perfect choice for me in terms of what I normally eat? No. But two things. I said, I'm going to make the best of this situation, right? What is the best thing that I can eat for me in this given situation? And two, I'm not going to worry about the fact that it's not perfect for me, and worry about the fact that my body needs food right now to feel better, right? It needs sustenance. So it's also about the mindset about how you go into it. I always tell this story about about food specifically. I'm originally from Miami, and I went back to Miami to visit family. And it was all during this food truck craze. I think they're still around a lot, but I don't see them as much. And so there was this big food truck gathering, and we were walking through it, and I saw this truck that was like a gelato on a stick is what they were. And I don't regularly have gelato. It's not something I incorporate into my diet regularly, especially at that time. I was very, very strict on my diet. And I looked at the truck and I said, I know that that's probably not what I should be eating, but I never get this opportunity. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to enjoy every bite of it. So I bought one and I ate it, and someone asked me for a bite, and I said, nope, this one's for me, right? I'm going to enjoy every last bit of it. So I think it's also about having the right mindset when you're doing something wrong as well. Like, so if you know, now you can't, there's balance here. You can't just every time you're going to eat poorly, if that's going to be on a daily basis, you're just going to give yourself, oh, this is great, right? So there's got to be some balance. But because I didn't do that frequently, I gave myself a treat, and I was good to myself about it. I didn't beat myself up about it. So yes, your mindset, how you approach stress, is an important process. The other thing is if you're in if you're in traffic, right? Let's just say that's a stressor. You're in traffic and you've got to get somewhere, you're running late, and there's all this stuff. It's how are you going to manage your stress during that time as well, right? And I think it's important that you manage your stress, that we control ourselves. We learn to control ourselves. And that's where the week that we discussed in the school on mindfulness and being conscious of what you're doing, and how you're approaching things, and learning to breathe and be mindful with the moment is going to be very, very important with you. So yes, you're in a stressful situation, and you have to acknowledge that that's a stressful situation. And now you need to control the way your body is going to go through it, okay? So we can't always control the outside stressors that we're affected by, but we can hopefully try to control and regulate the way our body responds to those stressors. So it's about taking a step back, taking some deep breaths, starting to regulate your breath control, because that's going to slow you down, and that's going to help regulate your nervous system. And as one of the bonuses that we offered, we gave you a bonus from Elijah Goldstein. He's a good friend of mine, and he is phenomenal when it comes to this concept of mindfulness. And I think it's like a 20 or 30-minute meditation. And I would encourage you to really listen to that, and listen to it over and over until you can start to really put that into your regular day. I think that's going to be a very powerful tool for yourself, as well as the meditations that we offered as part of the Secret to Conception. You're not going to like all of them, but you're going to find one or two that you really like, and I want you to take that piece and really incorporate that as well into your regular day and routine. And I think your husband's absolutely right. The way your body responds to the stress is the problem, and we need to help control the way our body responds to stress. We need to start to manage that better. So I hope that answers your question, Sharon. But if you have a subsequent question from that, just reach out and let me know. Go ahead. You do? Okay.
Please also it's also Sharon's husband's. Please also let the audience understand that most things they have no control over except themselves.
Absolutely. I think it's great. Well, I'm going to say, I'm going to take that in two different steps. I'm going to say, first and foremost, absolutely, you're correct.
Can you read it? Because I really can't.
Oh, okay. So, hold on one second.
It's on Facebook, so let me read it to you.
Okay.
Understand that most things.
So Sharon's husband says that understand that most things in life we have no control over, that we could only control ourselves, right? And what I want to comment on that is to say, yes, I agree to a certain extent. We do have only control over ourselves and our reactions, and we have to learn to control those better, 100%. But I also believe that we control and create our world and our environment and our future. And so, yes, it's coming from us, but we're controlling to some degree what's happening to us. And I think it's important that we create the world and the life that we want, so that it happens with us and because what we want versus to us, if that makes any sense. I'm not sure if it does, but hope it does. There's another question here. Oh no, that was the comment from Chrissy, I think, which was, if no one heard it before, just wanted to say that since starting this process, I've been sleeping better than ever. I've been eating clean and taking some supplements in September. I used to have the worst insomnia, and I've been sleeping great for the past month. So kudos to you. So here's another question. So would you say that once in a while going off plan doesn't have much of an impact? I.e., I keep getting on my husband about having a laptop on his lap without a sleeve, and he doesn't think it's that big of a deal. So I think those are actually two different points. I would say yes, going off plan every once in a while does not have an impact. It's okay to do, kind of like what I mentioned with the gelato on a stick thing, right? But if all the time, if he's using his laptop on his lap all the time, regularly on a daily basis, without the sleeve protection, then I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's once in a while. I think that's a constant thing, and I think that needs to be changed. Whether you get something that raises it so it's not sitting directly on, or you move it to the side, or you get the safe sleeve, or whatever it is, I think that definitely has an impact, because there's absolutely studies to show that. And I did an interview with the guy from Safe Sleeve, and it's a video on YouTube. We also have a blog post about it, and you can watch that, and we go into that specific topic in detail. And I think there's another question. No, I think those are all the questions I have here. Go ahead.
I would like for you to explain the flex time again, the first point, because I don't think they were watching that.
Okay.
And yeah, like.
Okay, so Aniansi wants me to just do a quick explanation of flex time again. Flex time, as I'm calling it, okay, is really time devoted to you that is not allowed to be changed. It's like an appointment that is set in stone, but it's an appointment with you versus an appointment with somebody else. And typically, at least I find with myself, and I notice this with others, like we'll put an appointment in for ourselves to do something, and then we'll say, you know what, I can get back to that later, I can do that later, or someone else asked me to do something, and I can, you know, superimpose it onto here, and I'll just do my thing later. And we make a lot of mistakes, we make a lot of concessions for others, and we don't prioritize ourselves. And this flex time, what I'm suggesting to you is that it's non-negotiable. It's 2, 3, or 4 times during the week that is completely committed to you and devoted to you, that can't be changed. And that could be time that you're just going to go for a walk, time like we spoke earlier that you're just going to spend time with your partner or husband, time where you are going to go exercise or make sure that you're going to go shopping to prepare for the week because that's important to you. It's time for things that are important for you to do things that are important for your fertility and yourself. That could be just, I want to read my book, and that's something I enjoy doing, so I'm going to create that time so that I can read a chapter in my book, and that's non-negotiable, whatever it might be. And I'm suggesting that that's what it is. So for me, for instance, it's going to be a funny example, but I'm a huge football fan. And I'm from Miami, so I love the Dolphins, and they're terrible this year. But regardless if they're terrible, I get enjoyment by sitting down in front of the TV and watching the Dolphins play football, even though they stink, right? So for me, that's my flex time. My wife knows that in my schedule on Sundays or whatever day, usually Sundays, whatever day the game is being played, that's an important thing for me that makes me happy and satisfies my life, right? So I want to prioritize that. But we've discussed it in advance. She knows that that's what's going to go there, right? So I'm saying the same thing for you. It's a funny comment in terms of, because it's for football, but we can do that with anything. And so that's for me what flex time is. Any additional questions? We've got a little bit more time. I'm happy to answer anything you guys have or want to talk about.
Will the stork be beneficial for me, for certain people with certain conditions? That's a comment from Sharon.
Would the stork be beneficial
for her?
So I think the stork is a great tool, and I think it's beneficial for anybody. If you're thinking that you could benefit from doing a regular IUI, I think the stork will be more valuable to you. One, it's going to be potentially cheaper, and I do think that the success rate of the stork is higher, and I've seen this to be true, is going to be higher than a regular IUI. So I do think that using the stork would be beneficial. A couple things when it comes to the stork is it's definitely beneficial if there's a male factor involved. There's definitely evidence to show that. Also, you know, if you are in your 40s, if you're going to do an IUI, I think by far the stork is going to be more valuable to you than doing a regular IUI. I will say that I have found that the way that the stork tells you to use it is not as effective as the way I laid out to use it in the school. So I would follow what the regiment that I laid out in the school versus doing what they recommended on their material. What other questions? None?
Sharon husband says you're the man. So
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to think of some other things to talk about. I'm going to be doing a not just for the school, by the way, but I'm doing a hangout on Monday, completely devoted to men's health in Movember. So make sure that you guys tune in or send your husbands or partners there to ask their questions and talk about it there. Although if you have questions about male factor now, I'm happy to answer those as well.
oh, they are all nice comments. Sharon says like, I'm so thankful for the school.
Oh, good, 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 good. And I know that I've been talking to Amy, our nutritionist. She said that she's been speaking with some of you. Hopefully you guys have found that valuable. Really, if you haven't spoken to her yet and you're going to in the future, really try to pick out like 1 to 3 things that you want her specific attention on or specific questions on, and have her answer those for you. I think the 30 minutes with her will be more valuable than just like a general timeline. But hopefully you guys have found that valuable as well. And she seems to comment that it has been. At least that's what she said to me. So here's another question. Let's see. Do you know much about factor 5? I have the factor 5 genetic defect, and I've received conflicting responses related to fertility. What's the conflicting responses that you've found towards fertility? I think it's a factor with regards to fertility and specifically miscarriage. And I do think it's something that needs to be addressed, but we have to see the whole picture. You know, when you start dealing with miscarriages, it gets a little bit more complex. I'm not quite sure what varying conflicting responses you've received. I mean, I guess the only two would be that someone said that it's not an issue and someone said that it is an issue. You know, we wouldn't test for miscarriage routinely if it wasn't an issue that needed to be dealt with. So I'm not sure. Is there kind of like a follow-up question to that? I'm just going to give it a second and see. So while we're just waiting for some more questions before we wrap up, I'll just say, really encourage all of you to just slowly start to incorporate the things from the school that you find valuable and important, and start to put those in. So just slowly weave those in, and that's why we work this out over 6 weeks. But pretend you take it for 12 weeks, right? And you do week 1 for 2 weeks and week 2 for 2 weeks and so forth, and just slowly start to put things in so you can really manage it. You don't want to overwhelm yourself so that you can't be successful. So it's more important that you're successful than you trying to do everything under the sun. So start to weave things in slowly. And here's the follow-up comment on on that. I was told originally it was something to be addressed, but then later was told by a hematologist that it has 0 effect. Then when I went through IVF, they didn't take it into consideration either. I think it's absolutely something to take into effect. I think what ends up happening is with IVF is just like in anything, right? Not all doctors or physicians are created equal. And I would say that in IVF world, that's no different, right? So you have some physicians who are going to value and address that issue, factor five, or let's say anything more than others. And so part of it is probably going to be like the clinic that you worked with or the physician you worked with, because they might not have been comfortable dealing with it. So they downplayed it, right? Where others will be very comfortable treating it. And so they'll address that a little bit differently. And there are definitely clinics that I would recommend more for something like that than others. But it also depends on what part of town you're in, or what part of the country you're in, excuse me. Another question, will the school be available to us after the 6 weeks so that we can do what you have lifetime access to the school. You can always be able to log in, have access to all the material in the school, and anytime I update things, so what I'm gonna do after this school is done is we're gonna go back, look at all of your comments, all of your feedback, try to make things more clear and easier to understand. And so we're gonna improve it. And every time we add or improve anything, you will have access to that as well. So with every upgrade, you get that as well. So yeah, always lifetime access. You'll always be able to access it.
Sharon has another question.
Okay.
You are suggesting that we do salads every day. Isn't the raw diet hard for the body to digest?
So yes and no. First and foremost, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Sharon, you live in New York. So I think there'll be better times for you to have a salad than others. You know, salads for me are better during the spring and summertime because it's warmer outside, and certainly in the wintertime living in New York, you know, it's probably not as likely that you're going to have salads, right? Our body just doesn't crave it. So the first thing I'd say is listen to your body on the good things. You know, if it's craving ice cream every day, then don't listen to it there. And it's just about what I was trying to express there with the salads every day is really about getting your veggies in every day. So that can come in salads, that can come in, you know, steaming your vegetables, whatever it might be. So it doesn't necessarily have to be every day. I think in the spring and summertime, you could probably have a salad daily and be fine. And in the wintertime, not so much. When I have a salad in the wintertime, I tend to incorporate it with something warm, like a bowl of soup, a cup of tea. I tend to have like a ginger vinaigrette, ginger salad dressing to warm it up. I put maybe some extra pepper or garlic on it to warm it up to make it easier to digest. So those are ways that you can balance it out if you do want a salad on a regular basis. Hopefully that helps. Another question, is there anything I can do now through this process with regards to factor 5? Anything natural that can assist me? I'm in Los Angeles, soon to be moving to San Diego, then plan on coming in to see you. Yeah, so I would follow the recommendations in the miscarriage section on blood clotting. So one of the, I would incorporate the nepronol or the proteolytic enzymes. I would make sure that you have, so we're trying to thin the blood. So with that, I would make sure you have your vitamin D with K. I would have your fish oils. But that nepronol is going to be an important factor for you to address the blood clotting. It's a very good blood thinner, and it cleans the blood, and I think that's going to be an important factor. The rest, I would also use Chinese herbal formula. I'm just not sure what I would recommend for that for you right now because I don't have a diagnosis to base it off of. But absolutely, I would definitely be incorporating the nepronol. I do know that the nepronol is expensive, and so I apologize for that. It's just that product is a good product, and it does tend to be a little bit pricey, but it works. The other substitute for that you can use, and I did post this on the Facebook group the other day, is it's called VitalZyme. I'm not sure of the exact cost of that, so I don't know if it's less expensive or more expensive than nepronol, but I would use VitalZyme. I do think that would be helpful for the factor 5. Good questions. Okay, we've got another couple of minutes to answer just some final questions. Hopefully you all found the topic useful and beneficial for you, and I'd love to hear comments on the group once you start incorporating the flex time and prioritizing yourselves. I can't stress enough how important it is to prioritize yourself in this whole process, not just during the holidays, but especially during the holidays. and not to get wrapped up in the craziness of the holidays if it's not something that you want to do, right? If it's something you want to do and you enjoy, then absolutely. But if it's not, then I encourage you to try to step away from that. Any last minute questions?
No, Sharon, she's like, you make this process sound so much easier. Thank you so much. I hope that we all contact you to say that we are pregnant soon.
I hope so too.
Why don't you address for a minute week 6 after week 6?
Yeah, you know, I'll just, that's a good thing. We mentioned it at the end of week 6, but, you know, take the material that this is the foundation for what you guys need to do moving forward. And I encourage you to just, again, start slowly, phase things in. Don't get caught up and get overwhelmed with everything. Pick the things that you want to do. This is the starting point, not the ending point. And use this as a jumping off point to start to make the changes that you need to make corrections. There's no reason to stop now. Absolutely. This is actually the time that you just kind of push on through and start making all the necessary changes. I also recognize that doing some of the things that we asked you to do is difficult during the holidays. So try to maybe focus on some of the easier things during the holidays right now, and then slowly phase in some of the other things once January hits. Is there another question or no?
No, Christy was like, this was so beneficial. Thank you so much. I hope everyone goes back and watches this. I love that you address dealing with people during the holidays. I already changed our Thanksgiving plan, so I don't have to explain all of this to a bunch of people.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So on that note, actually, we will sign off. Have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, and enjoy Thanksgiving. We all have a lot to be thankful for. I know that all of you have a lot to be thankful for, and I encourage you to focus on those things that the world and life has given you, and focus on those items that we should all be thankful for, and ignore all the craziness and everything else that's in your life, at least for a little bit of time. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I'm thankful for all of you being part of the school, and really thankful for all of you striving to be better, improving your health, and bringing wonderful, beautiful babies into this world. So I wish all of you the best of luck, and I'll see you on the group. All right.